Good morning, race fans. Welcome to episode 6 of the Announcers Booth podcast presented by Rapid Graphics. And have we got a great show for you today? Today on the show, we have the Central City Outlaw, Alan Zimmerman, on to talk about his cruiser racing career and transitioning into the stock car. And just everything about his racing is awesome. Also on the show today, we have Buddy Ray Jones, otherwise known as Woody from Toy Story, on to talk about the holiday horsepower drive, his sport mod racing, and what's happening at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Plus, for our Salvage Question of the day. All this and more coming up next on the Announcers Booth podcast presented by Rapid Graphics. And a happy Wednesday morning to you guys. How is everybody doing? Hope your Wednesday is going well. A little early here in the morning, but if you are listening to this later on in the day, I hope your day is fantastic. I hope everything has gone your way. And yeah, let's talk some racing, shall we? Today on the show, we've got Alan Zimmerman on the, he's known as the Central City Outlaw, Mr. Murica Mullet. Not America, Murica. He's on to talk about his career, like we said, in cruiser racing and stock car racing, and just what he does to give back to the racing community. Great guy all the way around. Also on the show, we have Woody from Toy Story. I actually know Buddy Ray Jones on to talk about the what's happening in Joe's Karting. There's a few things going on in Joe's Karting. He manages the place down there in Council Bluffs, as well as the holiday horsepower drive, and yeah. What his sport mod racing as well. So a lot to talk about. This is going to be a long show. I'm just going to apologize right now in advance. This is a long show. There's just no way to break up interviews. Everything is so good. So we're just going to jump right into today's topic and also the foreign salvage question of the day. And then we will hear later on from Alan Zimmerman and Buddy Ray Jones. So with racing, something I really want to hint on, because I've seen a lot of it online with the online racing within the past few weeks here, is the biggest thing when it comes to racing is, not only to have fun, but at the same time, sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is a beautiful thing in the racing world. And just to see that being, put to practice is amazing. I've seen it, like I said, in the virtual racing here just within the past few weeks for the GeForce Esports League, GeForce Racing Leagues on YouTube. Look them up at GeForce Esports on YouTube there. Sean Neested and myself, we call two of these divisions, the A&J Custom Creations 360 Renegades, 360 Sprint Cars. We call those races on Monday night for Monday Night Madness. And then Thursday Night Thunder, we have the Big Block Modifieds brought to you by Epsilon Sprint Wraps. And just the level of competition in these leagues is just tremendous. There's really good racing, but at the same time, there's sportsmanship. We've seen a few times where some guys will try a slide job and they could just put the leader or whoever they're trying to slide into the wall, no question about it, and not, care at all. But the sportsmanship they've lifted, they don't wreck the other cars, and it's tremendous. There has been times where a few accidents have happened, and the driver immediately, whether we interview them in victory lane or not, there's like, I'm sorry for that. I did not want to win that way. I apologize. That was not my intention. And just other things like that, or just, guys that went, hey, he had one heck of a race. Congratulations to him. It wasn't a win, but he drove me clean. I drove him clean. There was hard racing. Couldn't be more appreciated for that. Just sportsmanship like that is, I think, one of the best things in racing. There's good, rivalries are also good for racing, but sportsmanship tops rivalry, in my opinion. And it's the best thing, to stay humble. I know guys that have won, big money races and whatnot. And, sometimes you see a driver get out of the car and talk about themselves and yeah. Then there's other guys who get out of the car and, well, I'd like to thank my sponsors. I want to thank, all the guys on the crew for helping, put this car in victory lane and just really stay humble, not drawing a lot of attention to themselves. It's great. I mean, other guys are great drivers too. I'm not trying to talk any crap or anything about other drivers. It's just, I guess the humbleness is, it gets to me. That's what I love to see in a racer. And, guys that are willing to help out one another on and off the track. It's just the sportsmanship in racing is what I'm trying to get at here is amazing. One I will touch on here, Ben Sukup, driver of the 07 late model over at Off-Road Speedway, running for a points championship with Chase Osborne. Coming into championship night, these two guys were separated by just a handful of points. Chase broke in his heat race. And I know I've touched on this before, but I'm going to repeat it. Chase broke in his heat race. Ben went over and said, hey, what can I do to help you get this car on track? Because I don't want to win the championship with you sitting in the pits. I want to win the championship with you out there on the track, us two battling it out for the win. What can I do to help you get this car back on track? And he's like, well, I need a welder. Ben's like, you know what? I got one. Let me go get it. Helped Chase put his car back together. Those two were on track for the championship. Ben ended up winning that night, and he ended up winning the championship by just, like I said, just a handful of points. But it's stuff like that where kudos to you, driver. You have earned my respect. That is the most respectful thing that you will find in racing is a sportsmanship. I cannot touch enough on that. It is just a wonderful thing when sportsmanship is being practiced at these racetracks. So, all I have to say is stay humble, try it sometime. Be the bigger, if something happens, be the bigger guy, say, hey, you know what? It's fine. Or, hey, I wasn't clear for that slide job. I'm sorry, my fault. Practice sportsmanship. That's all I can say. So, we're going to get to the 4 Orange Salvage question of the day. Like I said, we have a big, long show today. I apologize for that. So we're going to get to the 4 Orange Salvage question of the day on the other side of this break, and we're going to hear from 4 Orange Salvage. Stay tuned.
Evicted tenants leave a mess behind? Have an old appliance that you're tired of staring at? Yard waste, branches, carpet, old furniture, other discarded items you just want gone? Well, 4 Orange Salvage can take it all away. Call Jamie at 605-376-8532 for a quote today, or you can find him on Facebook by searching 4 Orange Salvage-Junk Haulers. Contractless payment through Venmo or PayPal is also available. Quick, easy, and affordable junk hauling. 4 Orange Salvage. We pick things up and we take them away. Serving Sioux Falls, South Dakota and surrounding areas.
Welcome back to the Announcers Booth podcast presented by Rapid Graphics. And like you heard from 4 Orange Salvage, it is now time for the 4 Orange Salvage question of the day. And as you heard on the prior episode 2 weeks ago, Cody Bowler and myself, we asked you guys, if you have a pre-race ritual, what is it? So what is your pre-race ritual? And we're going to TikTok for this one as we posted the update on there. And Amick Racing is trying to be ready the night before, get loaded the day of, get to the track early enough, say hi to friends before the work starts. Rick Smith says, put my hauler bag, RC short course stadium truck in the trunk, head to the track, listening to my racing day playlist. That's always good. Austin Brands, gotta stop at the gas station and snack stop. Yes, absolutely. Support your businesses that support your racetracks. So support the local businesses that support racing. It's amazing. And a lot of these guys, a lot of these like small towns, the gas stations will sponsor the racetrack, and you see all these racers going to the gas stations all the time. Kind of have beer for after the races, right? So stop at your local gas station and buy some beer and support that local business that supports the racetrack. So Austin gas station snack stop, absolutely. Another person says just working on the car Saturday afternoon and making a scramble to make it to the track on time Saturday night. Absolutely. I know what that's like. AJ Hooks, whole crew meets at Hardee's for breakfast, then to the shop to get everything loaded up. That's a good ritual. Another one here says our ritual is jamming out to a certain playlist we came up with years ago, 24 years in the making. Wow. That's awesome. And Jacob Kelly says go to work, probably rush to load the derby car, stop, fix the truck, first load the car, scramble to get around, and just in time for tech. That has happened. That has definitely happened. So that is the 4 Orange Salvage question of the day for this week. Next week's question. Let me see. What should we ask for next week's question? Here's one. What are the sponsors that help you race each and every weekend or during the week? What are the sponsors that help you get that car to that track each and every week? We're going to give a shout out to the sponsors here on the Announcers Booth podcast. So that's going to be the Foreign Salvage question of the day for next week. Who are the sponsors and who are the businesses that help get that car on track each and every week? So that is going to be the Foreign Salvage question of the day for next episode. Be sure to look for the video on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and put your answers in the comment section. They will be read out next week on the show. So who are the sponsors and businesses that help keep that car on the track every week? We're going to take another quick break here and hear from Rapid Graphics. And just on the other side of the break, we will hear from the Central City Outlaw, Mr. American Mullet, in Alan Zimmerman. Stay tuned.
Rapid Graphics, located in Rock Rapids, Iowa, on the corner of Highway 9 and 75, specialize in graphics and signage of all types. They specialize in indoor and outdoor signage, banners, commercial vehicles, custom logos, race car graphics, and much, much more. Rapid Graphics have the tools to get your job done, and you can find them easily on Facebook at Rapid Graphics 12. For more information, contact Rapid Graphics for all of your custom graphic and signage needs today.
So coming inside the announce booth right now, our first guest today, he's out of Central City, Nebraska. Stock car driver, great scheme that he had on his car this year for law enforcement. It is the Central City Outlaw. He's also known as the American Mullet or Mr. America. Alan Zimmerman, driver of the 83 stock car on the show today. Alan, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
So out of Central City, Nebraska there, is that like a pretty predominant area for racing, or how did you get into the racing scene there?
Well, actually, I was into racing long before I even came to Central City. I'm originally from Red Cloud. I grew up in Harvard. My dad raced back in 1990-91 in the Bronco class, and he raced at the Speedway in Red Cloud. He got out of racing, and I kind of went through high school. And at the end of high school, I decided to get into the cruiser class with a friend. We started racing out at Mid-Nebraska Speedway in Doniphan. And I went through a couple of different friends racing the cruiser class. They eventually moved on to bigger and better things, and I just kept running the cruiser class. Eventually had my own car that I raced at Junction Motor Speedway from 2007 clear up to 2014. There'd be many nights I just pulled to the track myself, lone pit crew, and I would find somebody at the track to race a cruiser with me. And I think in 2009, I had 12 different drivers. I was a gas man in the car. I had 12 different wheelmen throughout the year. I had big names. John Thompson, Brian Borson drove with me for a night. Rocky Zimmerman, which was kind of ironic because we both had the same last name. Other class drivers, Zach Reichs drove for me one night. A lot of different drivers that I had fun racing with. And it was more than just fun. I got to learn their driving style. And it's crazy how many different driving styles are out there and how they work. So it was a huge learning curve for me. Some people thought I was just out to have fun. I was actually learning.
And with the cruiser class, you mean it's a two-man class, and like you said, you'd run the gas and like the brake, and then the guy would actually be driving, sitting to your left. So you talk about different styles. Everyone has their style, in my opinion. But how did you take that and learn every step of the way, like you said, and adapt your own style of driving?
Well, I was with guys that were radical, that would throw the car in there. They would tell me, just put it to the floor. I'll take care of the rest. Okay. And then there was guys that were smooth. And it's crazy how much faster you are when you're smooth. Um, Rocky Zimmerman is probably the smoothest driver that I ever had in the car. I could have put a cup of water on the dash and it wouldn't have spilled. And that was an old car. It didn't have all great stuff underneath as far as setup, but he drove smooth, and it was crazy to watch it and how smooth he drove. Yeah, it's just crazy to watch different driving styles, how people throw it in their entry, their exit, and how they want you to run the throttle. Some guys didn't care. They just drove to mine. Some guys were more competitive. John Thompson, he was really competitive, and I remember sitting in staging with him, and he looked over at me inside the car and said he was going to put it to the high side, that he didn't want me to lift at all. And it was kind of intimidating for a moment, but I was like, okay. And with John, I do believe we were fighting for third place, and we ended up breaking a radiator mount and did not finish that night.
So you've done cruisers then for years. Then how did it adapt then getting into the stock car, the class of which you're driving today, and just how did you take those things and adapt it to with yourself being behind the wheel then?
Well, I always enjoyed the cruiser because since day one, I've just been out to have fun. In 2006, good friend Jerry Hubner and I, we ran a cruiser at Donovan, and we won 5 features that year. Was it great to be in victory lane, to finish first? Absolutely it was. But to have fun will carry so much more memories than being upset 9 nights out of 10 that you didn't win. And I've really adapted that to the stock car. I'm not saying that the cruiser class was inexpensive or cheap. No racing's cheap. But this stock car class is really expensive. And I have some great sponsors, but I pay for everything on the car. I have to fix everything on the car. I don't have much of a pit crew. So if I wreck the car on Thursday night, I may not get to race Friday night because I have to fix it. If I race it, or if I wreck it bad enough on Saturday night, I'm done for the weekend. And if I can't get it fixed throughout the week, I'm out the next weekend. And to me, that's something devastating because I want to be out there taking the green flag, racing as many laps as I can to have as much fun as I can every single weekend.
And is that more like a motivator than just with you working by yourself most of the time throughout the week, getting the car ready when you're racing with the other guys in this class? Does that motivate you to work harder to try to run with these guys and run up front?
In a way, it does. I've got my own way of doing things, and I seem to be much different than others. Like, I change my gears while the car is on the trailer. And I timed myself last year. I can change gears in just a little under 27 minutes. That's not bad. I mean, think about most guys that have a big shop and a hoist. I don't know. It won't take them much longer than that to do that. But
right.
When I'm doing everything myself, I know what's done. I know what's not done. And if something happens, if something is forgot or overlooked, I know whose fault it is. I've watched big teams that have 5, 6, 7 crew guys, and there may be a feature that they didn't finish because something broke. Something forgot something. Somebody forgot something. Somebody forgot to tighten the wheel. I see it all the time. So if there's a wheel that forgot to get tightened on my car, I know whose fault it is. But I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had a wheel come loose on my car.
I think that's more like with, like you said, doing everything yourself. You've got to make sure everything is done right. And then just like you said, go to the track and have fun. I think having fun is the number one rule in racing. I mean, it doesn't matter, whether you're competing for points or if, you're trying to run national points or something like that. Just showing up and having fun with the rest of the guys in the class that you're racing at, I think is the number one rule in racing.
Well, and that's what it's all about. I think a lot of guys overlook it because they get into having so much money in their car, and they get so competitive that, and of course, I'm not going to list any names, but I have literally talked to guys that said, if I get second, I'm going to be extremely mad. And I just kind of stand there thinking, that's not me. If I ever got second, I'm super stoked. When I finished fifth at the McCool 100 this last year, the entire cool down lap, I was fist pumping. I was so excited. You would have thought I won Supernationals. And then I went to Hayes, and a big show, a lot of cars. I didn't even make the show, but in a way, I could have very been easily discouraged, but I wasn't. I knew I made it to Hayes. I went out there and I was competing against the best. Just because I didn't have the results I wanted, it didn't get me down. Following week, I went to Beatrice. Ended up getting the top 10 out of 26 cars. I was super happy for that.
And it's just the experience that, is really what it's all about there. The having fun has, I went to Hayes, Kansas. I competed, and just the experience, I'm happy with that, is really what it's all about mainly.
Yeah. And like this year for Dirt Crown Tour, there's a lot of, who hasn't raced US 30 Speedway in Columbus? Who hasn't raced I-80? Who hasn't raced Beatrice? But there's a lot of guys who have not raced Thayer County Speedway in Deshart. I have, because I took an opportunity to go race there one time. People say, oh man, I wish we could have raced Red Cloud. I raced the Speedbowl in Red Cloud the very last night to date. In fact, I think it was September 17th, 2007, if I remember right. Sure, it was in my cruiser, but I've raced there before. And 2 years ago, I made the pull all the way down to Dodge City, Kansas, because one time I drove by that track, and it's an IN-state track. I told myself, I want to race there. And I did. I've always wanted to race Harlan, Iowa. I went out there for the opening night of Spring Fling in 2019, I believe. And I've always wanted to race Denison. That wasn't the best night. As I hit the wall opening lap in the feature. But I want to make it back out there because I want to show myself that I can make a lap in a feature out there. But it was still fun being there. I enjoyed pulling out there and being there.
And, even a bad night at the racetrack is still a good night, though, because it's just the experiences that help make you grow, and then lessons you've learned on the road going to these different tracks as well.
Yes, and I've had some really bad nights at the track, and it has actually taken me down for a lot longer than it should have. Just thinking back, 2013, McCool 100 in a cruiser, we missed the heat race because we were trying to get a carburetor that we borrowed from a guy to run right on our engine. Completely missed the heat race. And at the time I was kind of upset, but I was like, as long as we get it ready for the feature and can go out and race the feature, I'll be happy. Well, the other guy that was racing with me, he had taken the car for a little bit and I told him when they had a drive shaft made for it, we broke a drive shaft the previous year. And told him, I said, when you put the drive shaft in, make sure you check all the bolts, on the transmission, and everything's good. And he goes, okay. I gave him drive shaft. He said he checked everything. We finally got it running for the feature. Went to leave the pit stall, and it wouldn't shift in the gears. So my brother, who happened to be helping us that night, started dumping transmission fluid in it, and it was running out the bottom of the transmission as fast as we were putting in. The transmission case was broken in half. So it kind of goes back to that wouldn't be happening in my racing program now.
Right, and make sure you double check and triple check everything is that's right there on top of the list when it comes to working in the shop. Another question I wanted to ask you, with a stock car, you had a great scheme going to Super Nationals, and I believe it was actually in the paper too, tribute to law enforcement. How did that idea come around, and what was just the response of not only your local law enforcement, like I said, with that newspaper clipping, but just with like the fan reaction as well?
I live in Central City, and if I had to pick anywhere in the world to live, I would pick right here in Central City. This place is such a great place. It's awesome to call it home. The police force here, they're so dedicated. They keep the bad people. You always see them on Facebook how they're taking drugs off the streets. And Merritt County Sheriff, who they patrol the largest stretch of Highway 30 in the state of Nebraska. Highway 30 is very, very busy, and so they play a big part in that. And every time I see that, I'm like, I'm so thankful to call this home. So it kind of came across it where I wanted to do an American theme. I don't get into politics. I know who I voted for, and to me, it doesn't do me any good to go out there and stand up for politics. I am for this country and for law enforcement. So when I did my rap, it was obviously going to be red, white, and blue. And then I thought, well, I want to mix it up a little bit. I want to have red, white, and blue into something. Well, I've always seen back to blue flags and people supporting back to blue. And I thought, how cool would that be to have that on the back of my car? And so then that's when it generated where, yes, I want to dedicate a part of my car to law enforcement for all they do. Because what they do is extremely underrated. To protect the streets of America, it's not easy. But every year before Boone, I like to take a picture of myself in the car to basically plant myself in my hometown of Central City. Last year this last year was the police officers, but the year before I did a picture of the high school football team in front of the high school stadium. And that was really cool. All the kids were excited to do that. Teachers, the superintendent of the school. And that was really cool to have that kind of support before I went to Super Nationals. And next year, I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but it'll be just as cool, if not cooler.
So it's been kind of a theme then, what you would say, the past few years going into the IMCA Boone Super Nationals, and just keeps getting better and better with every year.
Absolutely. And it's great. You know, the guy who takes the picture for me, he's the editor in newspapers. So, of course, you know, he comes out and takes a picture. From what I've seen the last 2 years, it's cool to go in the newspaper and not only get like the attention to my race car, but I want to get it out there where people that don't normally go to the races, bring them to the races. I'll be in the past few years, a lot of times when I'm in the pits, I'll look up in the stands, and the stands aren't that full. There can be more people up there. I want to try to get people, from Central City or wherever it sees my car in the paper. Let's go to Albion on a Friday night to watch races. Thursday night, their stands are pretty packed. Everybody from Columbus, they've got a very supporting community there, and it's great. I love Columbus and what Bobby Lincoln's done with the track there. But, and there's some tracks that struggle. Chad Dolan out at Lexington, he's done a phenomenal job with that place. It's breathtaking. Even as a driver, when we're going out, on a parade lap or something, and I look up in the stands and they're full, I'm like, man, that is cool.
And it's always just, it's great to see drivers promoting, this great sport of racing and wanting to give back to the people and to, like I said, help promote with other tracks, saying, hey, bring a friend and let's show you what, racing is all about and how much fun this actually is. Another question I wanted to ask you as well. It's kind of been, I don't know if you would call it like a running joke on Facebook or whatnot, but I got to ask this. I know the fans are wanting to know too. How many hot lap sessions have you won in your career?
All but one. I broke in practice night at Hayes, and I made a joking manner about that as Jeremy Bradley, a good friend of mine from, he lives in Texas. He's from New Mexico. He came up and raced Hayes Fall Nationals, and he was joking to me about wanting to beat me in hot laps, and I ended up breaking the lower ball joint in practice night at Hayes, and I kind of consider myself losing hot laps because Jeremy Bradley won. And it's fun. It's to me, sometimes I can sit here and say, man, it's kind of a bummer that in a stock car I've yet to win a single heat race yet. I have come very close. I have basically had them wrapped up until turn 4 on the last lap, but I have not won a single heat race. I've almost won a feature in 2017, but I have not to win an actual scored race. So when it comes to hot laps, it's more of a joking manner that, yeah, I picked up the W in hot laps. And actually going back to 2018, photographer that was she was a photographer at US 30. She happened to be down on the very middle inside of the front stretch. Well, Billy Lloyd was a flagman, and I love Billy Lloyd. That guy's a character.
Yes, he is.
In hot laps, he gave me the double checkers, and I was laughing about it because it was more of a joke. Well, what I didn't know was Jamie, the photographer, actually got a picture of that. And so I ended up pulling around and talking to Jamie, and Jamie's like, pull underneath Victory Lane. I want to get a picture of your car there. And so it was funny. I just pulled around, parked there, and she got a picture of me there as well. And so it was that night. It was kind of funny that was my picture proof that I won hot laps. But go ahead.
Well, and that comes back to, just the having fun aspect at the track and making things more enjoyable for not only the drivers, but also for the fans as well.
Oh, yeah. And this last year, I had a spoiler that I got off another car that I bought. And the whole point of that spoiler was it was in my garage. And when I'm working on the car, I'm doing a lot of walking back and forth. Well, and this was before the Abe Lincoln Memorial, right after Boone. I had tripped over that spoiler that happened to be laying in the middle of my garage for whatever ungodly reason. Tripped over it 3 times within an hour. And I kind of, I looked at it and I looked at the car. And I was like, I've got an idea. I carried it out there and I put it in the car. I was able to put the spoiler on with 11 rivets. I put it on there. I said, I just want to see how it's going to handle pulling the car to the track. I went to Columbus with it, and the amount of reactions from other drivers who thought I was running a spoiler on an IMC stock car, it was just an uproar. And I kind of laughed about it and actually went out for hot laps with it. And even the fans in the car, I had reactions from little kids that were like, I like your wing. And so then right before the heat race, I just take my my drill and I drill out the 11 rivets. There's 5 on one side and 6 on the other, and I just leave it at the trailer and I go out and I race legal without the spoiler. But when I go out, it's when I go to like a new track or something, and I have it on there. You know, everybody kind of caught wind of it, so when I showed up, they're like, "Oh, that one's back with the spoiler." But it was really funny to watch the reactions of people that were like, "What is going on here?"
I remember that night at US 30, walking up to your pit stall. You and the pit guy you had that night, you guys were under the car, and I remember walking up to it and, Alan, last time I checked, rear spoilers weren't legal in stock cars, but who am I to tell you what to do with your car?
Yeah, and it was funny. You just walk down the lineup, because where I'm pitted, there's like quite a few stock cars there.
Yep.
And you just walk down the line, you see all these tails of these stock cars, and then you see this big spoiler sticking out. And you know, I just kind of had to laugh. And somebody even told me to, like, at the Abe Lincoln, well, because there was a second night actually that I took it there. I pulled up there, and somebody's like, whoa, they raced late models last night, man. Yeah, there's many kind of jokes, and it's amazing how much time I spend at the track laughing because of people that throw me static of stuff I do and whatnot. And if I can't laugh and have a good time at the track, I don't know what I would be there for.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what it's all about. And I mean, there are people that help, throughout the experience with racing and whatnot. Who are some of the sponsors on your car that you'd like to give some credit to?
Okay. And I'll try to do these in order as far as most important. First off, well, one of my bigger sponsors, and I kind of joke about this in a way, not many people realize I joke about this, is AZR. The one who puts the most money in the car is really myself. But I always like promoting my name as far as AZR, and people call me AZR and whatnot. But the guy who has been there, who basically assembled my stock car, is Brendan Iltz with Iltz Racing and Fab. He's at a Grand Island. He is a drive chain genius. He knows anything and everything about gears, transmissions. He does many gears for a lot of different drivers and teams. And that guy, he does all my, I've got an engine builder, Doug Godzinski, who is also on the car. But Brendan does all my gears, all my transmissions. If there's anything he's welded on my chassis, it goes to Brendan. He is my go-to guy, and my racing program would never be anywhere close to what it is today if it wasn't for Brendan. Second off, Kim McDonald at Kim's Auto Repair Service. That guy is awesome. I'm glad that I got him to jump aboard my team because he's been a big part in the last 5 years, even when I had my old stock car before this new one. Kim has supported me like crazy, and I absolutely love his support. He's got his own repair shop in Grand Island also, Kim's Auto Repair Service. It's on Old Highway 30. And he's great at what he does. Second off, Tom Downey with Downey Well Drilling. They've got locations in Lexington, Kearney, and Dodge City, Kansas. That guy jumped aboard last year, and what he says racing is not for the faint of heart, and he says that he has never seen somebody like me who can just go out and have fun. And when I heard him tell me that, it just kind of really hit deep. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. Everybody sees it, and that's great. But Tom Downey is a big supporter of me, and I appreciate everything he does. Jeff Vanderwall with Jeff's Farm Tire Service out of Albion. He travels around, fixes farm tires and whatnot. He is a big supporter of me, and I am thankful for his support throughout the years. And the other one is Doug Godzinski. Godzinski Racing Engines out of Grand Island. He has put together my power plants back when I was racing Cruiser. Doug is a good friend of mine, and if it wasn't for Doug, I honestly could not see anybody else putting together my engines. It's just a phenomenal guy to have on my team, putting together my engines, and another guy I am just super thankful for.
And that's really, just the guys that are around racing but help racers out, one and all. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. And just for you guys just to represent them as well, and essentially advertise for them and let them know, hey, these guys are out here. They're not only helping me, but they can help you too. And, support the businesses that support racing. And it's just a great thing when everyone does that.
Absolutely. And when you say that, it's like me, I see Super Nationals fueled by Casey's or Hayes Fall Nationals fueled by Casey's. Casey's General Stores does so much for dirt track racing in the Midwest. When I go get fuel before I go to the races, you'll find me at a Casey's pump. I mean, I'm always support, like you said, support the people who support racing, and that's big.
Yes, it is, and we cannot stress that enough. Alan, it's been great talking to you, man. Just I want to say best of luck in 2021 with the stock car, and we hope to see you at the track sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. I'm going to need all the luck I can get because I think it's going to be a big, long year, and being by myself and with the budget that I race on, I'm going to need a lot of it. But AZR has some big things in the future planned. I've got some things kind of floating around in my head that I want to act upon, and you could see it this year, could be 5 years down the road, but if I act upon them, they'll be trend changers for sure.
So stay up to date with Alan Zimmerman on Facebook, and I'm sure you can find him on My Race Pass throughout the 2021 season as well.
Yep, I've got my own racing page. Actually, we are we're just crawling up to 1,500 likes on that page. So yeah, for sure, go give my Facebook page a like. I've got all my results, my lineups on there. I try to get better videos, and this year I want to try to find somebody who can do videos for me. So we're going to try to push the video part of it like it used to be. But for sure, you can find lineups and results every weekend on that race page.
So once again, that was Alan Zimmerman, driver of the 83Z stock car out of Central City, Nebraska. The Central City Outlaws, I guess what they call him. Also, Mr. America and Mr. Mullet. And, this guy is just an all-around great guy. What he does for racing, one of the greatest racing ambassadors I have ever seen. How he gives credit to, the people that help him out with sponsors or even at the track. But just what he does and gives back to the racing community as well. All around great guy. And if you are in the Nebraska area, go to US 30 on a Thursday night, look for the 83Z car, tell Alan that, Scotty Too Hotty sent you, and you will not regret meeting that guy. Great guy all the way around. We're going to take a quick break here and hear from Sodak iRacing Series, and we'll be right back with our other guest in Buddy Ray Jones.
The Sodak iRacing League is the premier iRacing league for drivers, crew members, fans, and sponsors in the tri-state area around South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota. From street stocks to super late models, modifieds to sprint cars, the Sodak iRacing League does them all. You can follow all of their seasons live and free on Advantage Racing TV. For more information, look for Sodak iRacing on Facebook or join the league by searching for Sodak under the Leagues tab on your iRacing account.
So coming into the Sodak iRacing Series phone lines, our second guest of the day. And for all you Toy Story fans out there, we finally have Woody on the show. Well, he actually goes by his regular name, Buddy Ray Jones. But Buddy Ray Jones, sport mod driver and one of the guys behind Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Buddy, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a good time, and it is what it is.
So, sport mod driver, also starting a charity and managing Joe's Karting. How do you do all three things? Because you are a very busy guy.
It involves a lot of Fireball and Bud Light. No, it's I like to stay busy. Years and years ago, I was pretty low key. A lot of people didn't know me, and that was all fine and dandy. And with the drive, we started that back in '06. True story. For those that don't know me, I've got kind of a warped sense of humor from time to time, and so this is going to be a little funny to some, maybe not to others. But I got my favorite show back in the day in 2006. Every Sunday night, my wife and I would watch Desperate Housewives. Something about living on Mysterio Lane and fantasizing about Eva Longoria was just wow. But anyways, I get up, I get a bowl of ice cream. And as I'm sitting there, I hadn't been thinking about anything. I'm just watching a TV show with my wife. And I turned around and I looked at my wife, which we were just dating back then, living together. Poor her. But I looked at her and was like, I think I'm going to do something for Christmas for the kids at the Children's Hospital. And she's like, what do you mean? Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's 500 kids, 50 kids. I just want to give a Christmas to all the kids at the Children's Hospital. So imagine you're sitting there watching the Daytona 500 and all of a sudden a fleeting idea pops into your brain like this.
Right. I
have no idea who to talk to, what to do, who to get a hold of. And so I got to thinking, I told Rachel, I was like, these kids, it doesn't matter what track. You could go to California to New York, Texas to Maine. You go to any short track. You go to any motocross. You go to any racetrack. You go to any racetrack, and these kids are, tomorrow's future. So, anyways, I think it'd be kind of neat to do a Christmas for them. And she's like, oh, okay. Now, I want to keep in mind that this is almost the weekend of Thanksgiving. So I just looked at my phone. I was like, what if we did the Saturday before Christmas? You look at the busy holiday weekend, you back up. So it's about December 14th, 15th every year. I was like, I think we could go to a hospital. And she's like, so what are we going to give the kids? Oh, well, all I got to do is get a hold of the racing community. I think the racing community would get behind this big time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I called Rob Harding over at the Children's Hospital. And Rob and Lisa Dufresne, they're awesome people over there. And Rob goes, you want to provide a Christmas to all 100 kids at the Children's Hospital? Yeah. How does that work? And he's completely speechless. He's like, well, we hardly ever have anybody that wants to provide a Christmas to all the kids. Well, we're not just going to do part of the kids. We're going to do all the kids. And he's like, well, there's 40 NICU babies. And NICU stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. Yep. And then there's 60 older kids. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, but because of HIPAA law, we can't tell you what age, sex, or anything of any of the kids other than there's 40 NICU and 60 older kids. I don't care. And he's like, are you sure you don't want to do something maybe for Valentine's Day or something? No. Let's do Christmas. And he kind of laughs. He goes, I mean, no disrespect, Mr. Jones. And I was like, don't call me Mr. Just call me Bud. He's like, all right, no disrespect, Bud, but that's an awful big undertaking to do in 3 weeks. I'm like, evidently, you never met a race car driver. We are the most stubborn people I know of. You throw a challenge at us, and oh, my God, we're going to get it taken care of.
Yep. So
he reluctantly, he was really, really gracious, but reluctantly, he's like, okay, let's see how this is going to work out. Well, that very first year when we showed up, we had 3 or 4 Nintendo Wiis. We had some PlayStations. We had 3 or 4 flat screen TVs. All together, when you look at the combined value of everything, it was like $30,000, $30,000, something like that.
Wow.
Well, it was supposed to be a one and done type deal. These kids are the future of our sport, and I know growing up myself that when I saw these drivers, it didn't matter if you were dead last in the C feature or winning the A feature. When you wore that uniform, you were like a god to me as a little boy. And to see everybody wanting your autograph, I'm like, this is really, really cool. It just resonated with me. So I told him, I was like, all the racers, we're going to get together and we're going to do this. So we do it in 2006. Well, 2007, here it is going into, I want to say it was September, October time frame, and I want to say it was Joe Godzinski. He walks up to me out at I-80 Speedway, goes, "Hey, what time's the when are you doing the hospital visit this year?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Well, you're going to the hospital again, aren't you?" Didn't plan on it. He's like, "Oh, bud, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. It's great for dirt track racing. It's great for racing." He's like, "You got to keep this thing going. You really come on to something here." So I kind of took a step back and I told Rachel, I was like, "Hey, all the drivers want to go to this again." I was intending for this to be a one and done type deal. I was like, but the racing community, all over the U.S. wants to keep doing this. So we did it again in 2007. It got even bigger and better, and we never looked back, and we do it every year now. Now, with 2020 being COVID year, we couldn't go to the hospital for obvious reasons. But with that being said, the racing community still got together, and I don't have the number in front of me, but it was either $4,700 or $5,200 that was donated to the Children's Hospital. And when that money goes to the hospital, I kind of told Alicia, Rob is no longer in the department that we deal with, but I told Alicia, I'm like, it'd be kind of nice if we knew what the money was going towards. I don't want to buy $5,200 worth of bedpans. And she kind of laughed, and she's like, well, that's kind of a hard number, but she kind of gives me an idea of what we get each year and how that works with the hospital and stuff like that. They did a huge remodel and built a whole brand new expansion onto the Children's Hospital in Omaha. And so when you walk into the lobby, there's a little creek right there with running water, and then they have this thing called the Wall of Life. So when you go to the Wall of Life, there's plaques on there, and you'll see construction companies like Kiewit Foundation. You'll see the Walmart Foundation. You'll see Fortune 500, like multi-billion-dollar companies.
Right.
And right in the middle of all that, there is the Holiday Horsepower Drive. And I've told everybody, especially after 2007, this is by no means what my wife and I do. The drive would never succeed, and we would not have the impact that we have. When I say we, and once again, it's not me and my wife, Rachel, we would not have the impact that we have on these kids' lives if it wasn't for all the drivers, the pit crews, sponsors on other teams' cars. Some of the coolest things, we've even had homeless people themselves. You'll see them panhandling. There was one year, this older guy, to this day, I don't know if he's still alive or not. I don't even know his name. I would go into a Quick Trip, and he kind of got choked up one day. He knew who I was. I didn't know him, but he's like, "Bud, it ain't much, but I want to give you $20 for this drive that you're doing for these kids." And I was really I'll never forget this. I was blown away by that. And he was really choked up. He's like, "I know guys are doing hundreds and hundreds of dollars." And I told him, I was like, "Well, let me tell you something. Yes," and this was a year, I believe, that Scott Bloomquist sent 100 Dirty Dozen T-shirts to all the kids.
Oh, wow.
You look at those 100 shirts, the retail value on those is $30 a piece back then. That was a $3,000 donation just in that one driver. So this homeless guy, I patted him on the back, and I was like, "Sir, I'm going to tell you, Scott Bloomquist sent $3,000 worth of T-shirts, and that's all fine and dandy. That's really awesome with Scott. But it's your $20 worth of Scotch tape. I'm going to put that $20 towards Scotch tape, and it's a Scotch tape that's going to, that's going to be put onto that wrapping paper that's going to wrap those shirts. So without your $20, that $3,000 donation's for nothing." And he was kind of blown away by that. And that's the God's honest truth. So some people are like, "Well, but I can only do $20. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's all, to me, your $20 donation in a lot of ways is just as important as that $3,000 donation or the $2,500 worth of T-shirts and stuff like that. So that's gone off really well. And then the one thing that a lot of people don't realize that the drive does, sometimes we do stuff that's not really promoted. I try not to be out there browbeating the drive into everybody's head every day of the week.
Right.
But I do know there was a young girl who lived out in Hastings. This was, 10 years ago or so, 10, 12 years ago. She had a feeding tube that was going into her. The problem is where the tube went into the port, if I remember right, the port was on the side of her neck. Well, if that tube came out, it was a matter of life and death for the girl. I mean, she didn't have days. She was down to hours to live if that port came undone. Problem is that port came undone quite a bit from the tube. So her mom's van was broke down. She couldn't get to the hospital. So I made a phone call to about 4 or 5 racers. I called a sport mod guy in Council Bluffs, over in Omaha, and he ran a retail chain shop. It was like a Brakes Plus or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But he told me, he's like, you get her van here, we'll do the repairs on her van for free. She's got to have that van because it's life and death for that little girl. Okay, so that was a hurdle. Another hurdle was, well, how are we going to get the van here? I didn't have an enclosed trailer, so I had made some phone calls, and, the guys are calling each other and getting a hold of me. So a guy that I very rarely talk to, but I have the highest respect for, Kevin Anderson, that owns Auto Connection out of Lincoln. He's retired now, but he calls me up and he goes, Bud, where's this van at? Well, it's out in Hastings. He's like, I tell you what, you tell her to have the keys ready. I'm going to take my race car out of my enclosed trailer. I'm going to go out to Hastings. I'm going to pick up the van, and I'm going to take it to Omaha to the other guy, the repair center, so they can get the repairs made. Okay, so that was another deal that I was taking care of. So when it was all said and done, I got the parts for free, the labor for free, the van was transported, and then I went to a car dealership that I dealt with, and they told me, Bud, you get the little girl's mama over here. We're going to give her a brand new wheelchair accessible van. She can use it, whether it be 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. We don't care, free of charge, while you guys are getting her mom's van fixed. So we've done stuff like that for the kids too.
That's awesome.
So it's not always just about the going to the hospital at Christmas time. We have a lot of fun doing that, but there's other things we do. We've done numerous little things like that. We've done Christmas in July, where I've had some other race car drivers take their cars over to the Children's Hospital. I've gone over to the Rainbow House, which is a neat organization in itself. The Rainbow House will house the families that have kids at the Children's Hospital having surgeries and stuff like that can't afford to stay in a hotel. So the Rainbow House takes them in. So I've gone over there, donated thousands of boxes of juice. I've driven pedal cars around the atrium inside the Rainbow House, had fun, stuff like that. And then when you go to the racetrack, seeing these kids, it's really awesome to see their face when they can see Woody on the car and stuff like that. So a lot of what I do on my car is there for the kids, because I know those kids look up to us. But when it comes to the drive and going to the hospital, that's not all me and Rachel. Me and Rachel may have came up with the idea in formatting it and running it, but it's the racing community as a whole, from NASCAR Cup Series all the way down to your local Saturday night racer. It's them that make the drive what it is, not my wife and I. I've always stood by that.
And that's something that, we have always said, though, too, when the racing community, the racing family comes together, it is such a beautiful thing what they can do and what they can accomplish. And it is just great to see what everyone does to help, the Holiday Horsepower Drive and what they do with every member involved with that as well. And you mentioned the kids, they love seeing the car. They love seeing the fire suit that you had especially made to look like Woody from Toy Story. But another thing that you guys have also done, too, is that I'd like to talk about is the Racing with the Stars event at Joe's Karting that you guys have done, where people can come and, race with these weekend warriors, these drivers and whatnot, and then money getting raised from that also being donated to the drive.
Yeah. So, well, I want to back up a little bit. You had mentioned my Woody uniform at the dirt track and having Woody on the car. So normally, if you look back just a few years on my Facebook page, I was widely known for having Yosemite Sam on the car. Well, back in the day, I was pretty quick-tempered, pretty hot-tempered. I would have a flash temper, and then, I would drink a soda with you, and we'd be laughing about it 20 minutes later. And what I learned was there's a lot of 30-year-old men out there that have no idea who Yosemite Sam is. It is shell-shocking. And so then I went to Sebasma Graphics, and I walked in, and I told Stefan up there, I was like, Stefan, I want to do a audible real quick. And he goes, what's that? I don't want to put Yosemite Sam on the car no more. He's like, well, you got to have, you've always been known for having a character on the car. Yeah, I'm going to put Woody. He's like, why Woody? Well, I'm kind of a country boy. Woody's obviously country boy.
Right.
I was like, he's happy-go-lucky. I was like, but there's a lot of 30-year-olds out there that don't even know who Yosemite Sam is, let alone the 4- and 5-year-olds, because Yosemite Sam's not on TV no more, but everybody knows Woody.
Yep.
And then he's like, oh, okay. So we put Woody on the car. And the one thing I have found out, when you have a 4, 5, 6-year-old kid, now if mom and dad's driving a race car, of course that kid knows his mom or dad's race car. But when you look at the typical race fan in the stands and they have a 4 or 5-year-old kid, some kid that's never been to the races, maybe a handful of races, but they don't know the drivers. I don't expect, little Bobby to know who Buddy Ray is if he's never been to the track, let alone Jesse Sabe and Chris Abelson. Maybe mom and dad went to the track for the first time. They wanted to see what this dirt track racing thing's all about. So mom and dad, being in their 30s and 40s, they might have heard of Jesse Sabe, Chris Abelson, Buddy Ray. They can relate to that adult. That 5, 6, 7-year-old can't relate to that adult. The 5, 6, 7-year-olds can't relate to what a sport mod or a modified is, let alone a 9CA stock car. To them, they're just brightly colored things going around a track.
Right.
But when that kid sees Woody on the side of that car, any 6-year-old knows who Woody is. So now they can relate. They know that car. Woody's in that car. And if you go back in 2019, yes, 2019, it was one of the first races in Denison when I had Woody on the car. There is a 5-year-old boy. His mom took a picture of it. He's going, he's real. He's real. Woody's real. And the light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, I got to keep Woody on the car. So now I have Woody on the car. Back in 2019, I didn't have the Woody uniform. So now I'm sitting there going, well, and this is something I've told all the drivers. We all want sponsors. We're all trying to find money to help us get on down the road with these cars.
Yep.
So it dawned on me, well, if I get out of my car, that 6, 7-year-old's going to find Woody in the pits. But when they look at me in my normal racing uniform, they cannot put 2 and 2 together. So then I called Tom Godfrey from Driven Race Gear out of North Carolina. He has always sponsored my fire suits to me, and he does a really good job with them. And I called him. I was like, hey, I want to do a Woody fire suit. He kind of laughed. He goes, you want to do a Woody Woodpecker? Now, you got to remember the guy's 70 years old.
Right.
So I'm like, no, Woody from Toy Story. He's like, oh. So me, Tom, and one other person, we got the artwork rounded up, and all of a sudden I get this Woody uniform. So now if I'm at Harlan, for example, and I usually pit in turn 2. If my car's unloaded after the feature, I go over to the snack shed to get something to eat. Well, the kids might see the car, but when they see me walking around in my Woody uniform, obviously they can put me with the car.
Right.
Also, with that Woody, and this is what I told a lot of drivers, because I've had a lot of them ask me, well, how do you have what's your deal with sponsors? I'm like, well, if you want sponsors, you have to stick out in today's world.
Yep.
When I wear that Woody uniform, you can pick me out from 100 miles away. With that Woody hat and my uniform, I stand out. So now when I'm standing over by the car, if you look at my Facebook page, it's not hard to find numerous photos of me with the fans and the kids and stuff like that. So I tell the drivers, use this as a learning experience. I've actually gotten sponsors simply because I'm dressed up as Woody and I'm having fun with the kids. Those kids can relate to that cartoon character. They can't relate to a car that they don't know nothing about, let alone they don't know the driver or anything. But that 7-year-old sees the kid, wow, they light up. I've had other drivers in other divisions bring their kids over to take photos with me in the car. So that's been really, really big. So that's one thing I wanted to touch on real quick when you brought that up. Now the Racing with the Stars. The Racing with the Stars, we started that in 2006. We did the drive. 2007, we started the Racing with the Stars, and that was the kind of quote unquote kick off the holiday season. It's always the first Sunday in the month of November, and ironically, I think it's always the daylight savings change day when the clocks go forward or backwards. But anyways, we get about I want to say it's 20 celebrity drivers. We have 19 celebrity drivers, and then usually we have a member of Joe's Karting, 1 or 2 members of Joe's Karting in there. But yes, the general public can come in and they can pay, I think it's $7 or $8. No, I'm sorry, it's $10 per race, and you can race with the Weekend Warriors. And then a portion of that goes back to the drive. And then what we do when we get the money from that event put back into the drive, well, if the year is low on donations, cash or like in-kind donations like T-shirts, toys, stuff like that, we can take that money and we can go get video games. We can go get stickers. We can go get clothes. We can go get juice. We use that to help supplement what is brought in by the racing community. And it's been a juggernaut. If you haven't been to a Racing with the Stars, it is one of the most hyped up events at the end of the year. We've got guys that will drive 8 hours just to race in the Racing with the Stars. I mean, it's got a lot of pageantry, a lot of neat things. For a karting event, we have very little drama. I mean, we've had some, but what karting event hasn't, but for the most part, it's a really, really neat event. It's the biggest event at Joe's Karting every year. It's something that we're proud of doing, and it's something that Joe's is proud to do with the drive.
And you've had, different drivers throughout the years that you've been doing this. And I myself have been to one event I didn't race, unfortunately, but got to meet you and talk a little more about the drive, as well as interview part of the drivers who are part of the Holiday Horsepower Drive that year. And then just as well as those drivers, of course, 2020 couldn't do so with the COVID pandemic, but they go to the hospital and help distribute these gifts as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so when you do the Racing with the Stars, all the drivers make a donation. Ironically, everybody thinks that I pick the drivers. That could not be farther from the truth. There's a group of 6 or 7 of us. I won't name names because I don't want their phone lines being blown up. But there's a group of 6 or 7 drivers that we work, that has helped Rachel and I tremendously with the Racing with the Stars and the Children's Hospital visit. We'll go, for the Racing with the Stars, hey, you want to have this person? Well, no, not really, bud. I don't think it's the right fit. Well, this guy doesn't win a lot of races, but I think he'd be a good fit. He's a great people person. So it's very selective when we decide on those drivers, and it's not like I'm calling them all at once. When we decide on a driver, I normally will email, Facebook, or I'll call that driver, and I'll tell them, hey, we'd like to have you as a celebrity, and almost every one of them is just super excited and ecstatic to be able to be a celebrity at the Racing with the Stars and to help raise money for the kids. But every one of those celebrity drivers, people think they come in and race for free. Oh, no, they don't. Every one of those drivers, we call it the Kyle Burke rule. One year, I asked Kyle Burke if he would be a celebrity driver. He said, absolutely, bud. I love what you're doing, but I'll only do it on one condition. Okay, what's that? I need to donate a minimum $25. So I'm there for the right reason, and I'm not there just to have free karting. Okay, we call it the Kyle Burke rule. He's the one that came up with it. So every driver that you see at the Racing with the Stars, they didn't just show up and race for free. They donated. On average, each driver donates $100+ to the drive. So when you get 20 drivers, that's $2,000 walking in the door right there that we know that we can go get toys, T-shirts, stuff like that. And then when the general public comes in, they pay for the races and they race against these celebrities. And then we have a couple qualifying features, and then we have what we call the big dance. Just like Super Nationals, we have the big dance, and there's a ton of trophies. And when you see the trophies, you see them, they're gigantic.
Oh, yeah.
I go way over the top with the trophies. In the last 2 years, Jay Burdick with Malvern Bank and the Dirt Track Bank, he's been a real important piece of that, as he has sponsored the trophies and highly believes in what the drive is all about and stuff. So, thanks to him. But yeah, if you haven't seen the Racing with the Stars, I guarantee you need to come. Everybody needs to come down and do it, and you need to get there early because the races fill up fast. You've seen that. Yeah,
and it's you guys. Some of you guys have your own cars parked out in front. Like I know your Sport Mods usually are there. A couple of the drivers bring like a compact or a stock car or some. Really great event each and every year for the holiday horsepower drive. But you guys also have a lot of things going on at Joe's Karting too, especially something recently coming that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks here with iRacing. And
so
what is that about? Joe's Karting going iRacing here. Tell us more about that.
So, COVID, the 2020 COVID year, I call it, the 2020 year of the COVID year. But in 2020, a lot of businesses were shut down. We were one of them. We were shut down for 3 months. And then when we reopened, business has been really, really good. I still can't make up those 3 months I was down, but we're doing pretty good. And then we found out that there were some motion rigs for sale, these racing simulators. And so we looked into them and we bought them. They're at the track right now. As of today, though, we don't have the screens or the computers, but the rigs are up. They're partitioned off with some railing. You can't sit in them or palm or nothing like that. But tentatively speaking, as of this interview, what we want to do, we want to get iRacing on them, and that has progressed. We're going to get iRacing on them, and what I'd like to do is do dirt track only. So for those fans out there, when they see, well, Buddy Ray's Sport Mod's a $30,000 car, I don't have $30,000. No, but you know what? Now you can come in. We have VR goggles. These are full motion rigs, so the seats go up, down. They tilt left to right. It's got rear traction loss built into the rig. So when you come off the corner, these sim experience rigs will actually come out from underneath you. You see what we see from the cockpit, and you feel what we feel in the cockpit at the Saturday night track. So you get to basically the VR experience of doing what Buddy Ray or Jesse Sabian or Chris Abelson or whoever your favorite driver is. You get to feel that experience. That is something new at Joe's. We have 2 of them. We haven't figured out pricing yet, but there will be iRacing on there in some form, but we are going after all the dirt tracks, and then we'll have late models, modified sprint cars. I think there's some sport compacts. We'll have street stocks in there, and the interest has been overwhelming. And as far as I know, in a commercial setting, I think the closest motion rigs that you can find possibly are either in Denver or Chicago. So it's not like you can just take a Sunday drive and go do this. Right. We're the only ones in Omaha that have this type experience. And like I said, the interest has been overwhelming.
So there's basically something for everyone at Joe's Karting, whether it's, the go-karts or I know you guys have racing leagues during the week as well, and now soon to be iRacing. So there's really something for everyone at Joe's Karting.
Yeah. You bring up the racing leagues. Once again, it's the Dirt Bank series presented by Joe's Karting. Once again, Jay Burke with the Dirt Bank. Once again, a huge shout out for Jay for helping us. He came in one night with his son, I believe, son or his daughter, one of his kids, and he asked what we were doing. I was like, well, this is our leagues, and we would have 4 or 5 people in our leagues, not a lot. Well, all of a sudden, we now have slick oval track racing for our leagues, which now we do slick oval track for the Racing with the Stars also. Well, when you look nationwide at indoor karting leagues, in the last 5-6 years, the trend has been that, look, when you do an 8-week league, if you're not in the top 5, people just start trailing off, and then new people won't come in because it's, they're joining the league too late into the season. So I went for broke, and we have an 18-week league season. We have the front 9, take the month of December off, come back and do the back 9 weeks. And right now we're in the back 9 weeks. And when you go to your local dirt track and you're seeing, the sport mods, whatever class, they're averaging 20, 24 cars. I'm averaging 30, 35 a night for leagues. It is the biggest league that I know of anywhere in the nation right now in indoor karting. And surprisingly, you would think, we've done this upcoming Tuesday will be week number 13 of 18. In 13 weeks, I've had 64 individual people in my leagues, 29 of which have been in the feature at least once. Now, run those numbers against any dirt track. And that's not trash talking the dirt track, but I know Jack Dover was like, that's pretty impressive. I don't know of any dirt track that can say that they've had over half their people in the feature unless they're averaging a really low car count. But to have that many people and say 50% of your crowd's been in the feature is pretty impressive, bud. But with that being said, on those 30, 35 people, what's shocking is I've only got about 11 that are dirt track racers. Everybody else is not a dirt track racer. They're just normal fans. There might be some crew members in there, some sponsors, but actual card-carrying NASCAR, IMCA, USRA card-carrying licensed members, I've only got about 11 of them. And it's super competitive. Ages 12 on up can race leagues. Ages 12 and 13, you had to have done a training course at Joe's, and you must have raced the road course a minimum 6 times before you can do leagues. So, yeah, between the leagues, the VR simulators coming, the road course, we got a little bit of something for everybody there.
And it's really just a great thing that Joe's Karting has done. I've been there a few times myself and hit the track. Always a good time at Joe's. And Bud, just what you guys do with the Holiday Horsepower Drive, not only you and your wife, but Josh Blom and his wife, and Jeff Brunson and his wife Sonia as well. Everyone involved in Holiday Horsepower Drive and with Joe's Karting, you guys do a lot for the racing community. And I think I speak for everyone when I say we cannot thank you guys enough for doing what you guys do.
Yeah, and at the same time, we can't thank the racing community enough for what they donate and the time that they put into this. I've told a lot of people, if you really, really want to see something that'll bring a tear to your eye, 2 things. The Saturday that we go to the hospital, everything is laid out on a table. You go to my Facebook page. It's, like I said, it's the 14th, 15th, 16th, every year in December. I'll do a Facebook Live video. You can see everything laid out. This stuff isn't like hand wrapped. It's loose. It's all laid out in tables, and the tables are about 40 foot long. You get to see just how much is donated. And then once Saturday morning hits, it's already laid out. We show up. Believe it or not, we do 40 gift bags, and then we do 60 gift boxes. And for the group of people that come in to hand wrap the gift boxes, it only takes us about an hour, hour and a half. My wife, Rachel, Sonia Brunson, and Justin Blum, these 3 girls, they are amazing. These women are awesome. Jeff Brunson, Josh Blum, and myself, we're kind of the face of the organization, but they definitely do a lot of work. When we show up on gift morning to gift wrap everything, the three women will tell all the drivers, back away from the table. Quit pawing stuff. We're trying to figure out what goes into what boxes. And I'm like, okay, I'm just here for the coffee. So, and then if you really want to see something funny, it turns into a world's, we're racers. We're fast. We want to be fast at everything, and we're competitive.
Yep.
So then we get into see who can speed wrap the fastest. And dear Lord, I feel sorry for whatever kid gets the gift that Jeff, Josh, or I are wrapping, because there was one year I was digging scraps out of the trash can and taping them to the boxes.
Oh my goodness.
And then, yeah, you'd see these kids. But what's funny is the kids would laugh about it, like, who in the world wrapped this? So then you got Jeff Brunson, Josh Blow, and I, we're pointing at each other. Oh, no, I didn't wrap that one. You wrap that one. So it's a fun time. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like I said, we can't say thank you enough for what all you guys do. And like you said, a big thank you to the racing community for what they do, not only for the drive, but, with Racing with the Stars and everything. And it's just a great thing. Like you said, Bud, if you have not come to Racing with the Stars event, you have to go. It is a fun event, and you can get to meet a lot of drivers and fans, and even race with these guys too, and all the money going to a good cause. But I just want to say thanks for being on the show, man. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you for all that you do in racing.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. And, hopefully we can make strides now that we're going to Bristol. We're going to be meeting 1,300 race teams. I've never been around 1,300 race teams at one time.
Yep.
But when we get to Bristol, that's just more networking with the drive, and we might be getting some T-shirts and stuff like that. So the amount of time that I have left in my racing is limited now. I'm not old, but I've had neck surgery. We've had a multiple sclerosis scare, which thank God I've not been diagnosed with MS. But my reflexes are slowing down. At this stage of my career in dirt track racing, I'm out here having fun, putting smiles on kids' faces, talking to the guys. We're selling parts at Joe's so I can help my competitors and, further their operation along. I'm having a kick watching these 20, 25-year-old kids come up through racing and get better. I mean, there's the talent out there is stacked, regardless of class. There's so much talent in these classes. I love watching those guys. I might be going on 46 in April, but I'm still that 12-year-old when it comes to race cars. I don't think of you any different if you're in a late model or sport compact. A racer's a racer. So at this point, I'm just having fun. I'm incredibly blessed to have the sponsors and the partners that I have. This is not something that is solely on my shoulders. It takes a lot of people. It doesn't matter if it's me or if it's anybody at the racetrack. Every one of these cars has a group of people behind them to put them on the track, whether it be with parts or money or just labor help in the shop or, pit crew help at the track. So when people see these guys, just, this isn't easy for anybody. It's a tough gig, but I know that I'm fortunate and I'm blessed to be able to do this. And as long as I can do this, there will always be the drive. There will always be the Racing with the Stars and stuff like that. And, to say things to my sponsors and whatnot, that's another reason why we do all that.
And definitely, support the businesses that support dirt track racing. We cannot stress that enough. Once again, thanks for your time, Bud. Greatly appreciate it. And good luck in 2021 with not only the race season, but with the holiday horsepower drive as well.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Scotty, and we look to see everybody down the road.
So once again, that was Buddy Ray Jones, and this guy is just incredible. Just everything that he does with the holiday horsepower drive and other stuff that he does, it's just incredible. If you would like to donate to the holiday horsepower drive, you can do so through PayPal, paypal.com/HHD25. That is where you can donate there if you'd like to. Otherwise, if you'd like to find out more information, you can look up Holiday Horsepower Drive on Facebook, or you can email them at holidayhorsepowerdrive@yahoo.com. And like I said, Buddy Ray Jones, great guy, very funny, has a sense of humor as well. And Joe's Karting, go check it out, see everything that's happening at Joe's, and just go have some fun, and you get to drive with some stars there as well. We're going to take another quick break here, and we are going to hear from Advantage Racing TV and AOK Photography, and right after that, we will have upcoming events. Stay tuned.
Advantage Racing TV is your source for local entertainment in the tri-state area. From compacts to late models and sprint cars, Advantage Racing TV has just what you need to cure your racing ailments. Check them out online at www.advantageracing.tv and take advantage of your racing addiction.
AOK Photography and Design is the place for all your photo needs. AOK does racing hero cards, blankets, canvas, racing sponsor photos, as well as other personalized items. Located out of Montevideo, Minnesota, they can get what you need at an affordable price. Check them out on Facebook for more information, and you'll find that their guaranteed service is A-OK.
Welcome back to the Announcers Booth podcast presented by Rapid Graphics and Advantage Racing TV and AOK Photography and Design, bringing you the upcoming events this week. Be sure to check out GeForce Esports on YouTube. Go look it up, GeForce Esports. Subscribe to them. The GeForce Racing Leagues, they have awesome races going on all throughout the week. Advantage Racing TV produces two of them, which is Monday Night Madness with the A&J Custom Creations Renegades 360 Sprint Cars, and then the Thursday Night Thunder Big Block Modifieds presented by Epsilon Sprint Wraps. Those are on YouTube, produced by Advantage Racing TV. Sean Neesett and myself have the call for those two races, but they also have races on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as well. So go check that out, GeForce Esports on YouTube, and you get to see a lot of great races from iRacing there. So go check that out. Other upcoming events, they have the INX Winter Nationals coming up here shortly in Florida on Legends Nations TV. So go check that out. Just a lot of great stuff happening online. Of course, Bristol is coming up next month. So stay tuned on Facebook for details on that. Also be looking on Facebook for the Nebraska Dirt Crown, as you heard Cody and I talking last episode to Scott Angel. They have more announcements coming up. So on Facebook, go look up Nebraska Dirt Crown as the Nebraska Dirt Crown Tour. Awesome tour coming at the end of March in Nebraska. So cannot wait for that. And we just can't wait to get back to the racetrack in general this summer. So a lot of things up and coming for the 2021 racing season. And yes, all of us are excited for that. So once again, GeForce Esports TV on YouTube. Be sure to look that up, GeForce Esports, and for some great iRacing action. I want to thank Alan Zimmerman and Buddy Ray Jones for being on the show today. Thanks for coming on, you guys. Greatly appreciate it. Also, a big thank you to Matthew Bronis, Jerry Van Sickle, and Sean Neesett for helping out with the show. Could not do that without you guys. And to all you, the race fans, for tuning in each and every Wednesday here for the Announcers Booth podcast presented by Rapid Graphics. Thank you so much. Have a great Wednesday. And we'll see you here next week on the Announcers Booth podcast. Take care, everyone.